I came in here this morning and I heard the music, and Gretchen's dancing all over the stage. I mean, she's jumping up and down. I said, what are you so happy about? And she said, I'm just happy to be here today singing. I'm happy to be here. And then Marianne comes in, and she's just jumping up and down. And I said, what are you so happy about today? And she said, I'm just happy to be alive. And so the song this morning was perfect, because this moment is the moment that is precious and unique and special. We won't all be together like this again exactly as we are. So we need to take this moment and really start this week with all the gratitude in our heart. Couldn't you all relate to something that each person up here said? Put your own life in that. And that's what we get to do. So how we treat each other. In the top of my prayers, I say this all the time, and my gratitudes is always this community. And I have to be really honest. When Kirk and I were talking about starting a spiritual community, I said, I don't want needy people. I just wanted people that really wanted to learn and grow and be together and be part of a community that can support and be supported and be together, and that's exactly what we have. A group of people that are here to share their goodness because it's contagious. I felt better after I talked to Gretchen and Marianne this morning. I was like, whoa, I want all that too. But it's contagious, our goodness. And then when we fall, we can be there with each other. So how we treat each other. I read a little story that had some deep meaning to me. It was a rabbi who was speaking to his students. And he said to them, how do we know when dawn has arrived? Well, we can see dawn as the beginning of the sunlight, right? Or we can see it as the awakening with our own soul. So when he asked his students that, the first student piped up and said, oh, it's when you can tell the difference between a sheep and a dog. And the rabbi said, no. And somebody else said, oh, it's when you can tell the difference between a fig tree and an olive tree, when the light comes up. And the rabbi said, no. And the silence was just deep. Nobody else, I guess, had the courage to answer or didn't have any ideas. So the rabbi walked around in the silence, in the circle, and he said, you can tell when dawn has arrived, when you look into another person's eyes and see yourself. So when I was hearing everybody's gratitude and all these lucky moms with grandkids and great-grandkids, and my very biggest gratitude right now is our little grandbaby. I don't have any other grandbabies. And what that rabbi said is at 1 week old, and I looked into her eyes, we could see each other very deeply. So I love having her in my arms. I love seeing my daughter be a mother. She's an amazing mother. I love seeing Kirk Baba being a grandfather. It's just so wonderful. But you know what the best thing is? And Rob, you mentioned it a little bit in your sharing. I love myself as a grandmother. It's a beautiful experience. I got to hold her all day yesterday at a lunch we were at in a busy place, and it was noisy, and I thought, she's just 6 months old, and she sat there looking around and just taking in. And I was talking to Sue and Richard about that, and King Richard, that's what I've documented to you. King Richard said, well, she was just soaking in all the knowledge, and she is. It's really important how we treat each other and how we share communicate the goodness that's going on in our life in the times we need support. I think we all, when we were young, heard the golden rule, right? How many times? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But isn't that the truth of life? It's actually the tenet of all the world's major religions. Jesus, Hillel, Confucius, they all claimed they founded the saying, the golden rule, do unto others. All of them claimed that, because that's the basic ethical tenet they used for their teachings. And it was Jesus who said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And then Hillel said, What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man or woman. This is the core of Judaism. All else is commentary. And he was even, he was major there at the time of the Talmud being written, and so he was there before Jesus and there. And then Confucius was there way before any of them, and he said, what you do not wish upon yourself, do not extend to others. The golden rule. Well, his ethical teaching ended up being part of the Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and Japanese life and thought. How golden are you? How well do you treat yourself and others? Well, it's interesting because John Pavlovitz is on the cover of our December Science Divine magazine. And he's a little bit radical for the Christian teaching, and he's gotten kicked out of a few churches because he's too accepting, too inclusive, too tolerant of others. But here's how he's contemporized. He's worked a lot with the youth in the teachings, and he's in North Carolina, but here's how he's contemporized the saying, do unto others. He says, don't be horrible to people. I love that, teaching the teenagers that they'd get it. They would totally get it. Don't be horrible to people. You got to stop it. Treat people with dignity, respect, and that they're worthy of mattering. And he focuses on the things that bring us together instead of tears us apart. You know, how many of you can be unkind sometimes? We all can, because that's in us. We've got that part of us, the little person in there that doesn't get what they want or doesn't feel good enough. We've got that inside of ourselves. But you know where it starts on how we treat each other? It starts inside of us. So, you know, Ernest Holmes said, getting to that place, finding that divine center. Because when we really touch that divine center and let it flow out of us, we're going to touch other people. We're going to attract that. We're going to either touch other people so they can feel our vibration. They can go on being cranky if they want to, but they'll feel it. It'll make a change. But we'll make that connection. We can feel that presence in others when we go there. But the journey there isn't always fun. It's like going through a labyrinth of limited thinking, past experiences, all this, till you find oftentimes a beast in there. And that's the one that does the unkind things. We don't actually do them, but we have to find that part of us that's lacking or feels lacking, the part of us that doesn't feel quite good enough. So we say unkind things or do unkind things or make big deals out of our mistakes and don't forgive ourselves. We have to meet that part of us so we can make friends with ourselves. And once we make friends with ourselves, make friends with that little beast in there, that little part of you that's needy, or cranky, or ornery, or selfish, or angry, or greedy, or mean, or judgmental. Do you want me to go on? No. Me neither. Okay. No, I'll stop there. And learn and grow and then melt in to that divine center. And from that place, and when we get to that divine center is where we start forgiving in a deep, deep way. When we start forgiving, and I've heard forgiveness, true forgiveness, is when you can say to someone and yourself, thank you for that experience. It's allowed me to grow. It's allowed me to remember who I am. It's allowed me to become bigger, more compassionate, more simplicity, more compassion, more kindness. It's brought that out in me. So think, where can you say to yourself, oh, thank you me for having that experience, for being that way, so I could learn how to be better. Thank other people for treating you in ways that weren't so comfortable, so you can be better. Remember, we live in a world, a scientific world, that is also spiritual, scientific and spiritual. So the scientific part is we have a cause and effect universe, a mental equivalent. So if we want kindness and joy and goodness, respect and love in our life, we've got to build that up and remember that about ourselves. If we're feeling that people are unkind and not gracious or greedy or mean, there's something in ourselves that's unhealed. It could be unkindness that's been passed on to us, and we haven't healed it yet, so we have work to do. And Ernest Holmes said this is painstaking work. It requires us to go deep, but it's worth every bit of it if we're willing to do that. because we'll reach that place which I've said so many times inside of us where we have one hand touching spirit, one hand reaching, touching, holding the hand of God, and the other out to humanity. It can be there for us. How we treat each other. If we're this way, we're going to bring love and light and goodness in the world. My closing message right now, my thought, is let's not continue to feed the negativity in the world. Let's not do that. Let's make that decision. Yes, we'll catch ourselves when we do this, but let's make the decision together that we treat each other with love and respect and kindness, no matter if people are different than we like, no matter if a situation we don't understand, no matter if that we can still spread the light of goodness and be that in the world. In this Thanksgiving week, whoever you have at your table, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 18, 20, 20, however, we have an opportunity to see the light of God in each person there and say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you for being our community. I love you. Love you, love you. Thank you, thank you.